There's no room for nostalgia in the NFL, especially when it comes to aging quarterbacks. It's a harsh truth for general managers and team owners struggling to move on from iconic players. Still, this season has served as a harsh reminder. It's often better to decide to move on too soon than be stuck with a veteran QB who is suddenly and clearly past his prime. Green Bay's general manager, Brian Gutekunst, has faced criticism and praise for handling Aaron Rodgers' situation. After the 2022 season, Gutekunst decided to part ways with the four-time MVP. Looking at Rodgers' tumultuous 2023 season with the New York Jets, it's clear the decision was the right one. Despite being traded to the Jets with high expectations of leading them to a Super Bowl, Rodgers has only won 3 games. As of Sunday, the Jets were officially eliminated from playoff contention for the 14th consecutive year, the longest streak in major sports. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings made a similar, perhaps even bolder move. They opted not to extend Kirk Cousins with a massive contract, a decision that now looks astute, especially when compared to the Atlanta Falcons' significant investment in the quarterback. Cousins has struggled mightily, throwing no touchdowns and 8 interceptions over the last 4 games. Despite the big deal, the Falcons find themselves on the outside of the playoff race, while the Vikings, with Sam Darnold at the helm, are tied for the 3rd-best record in the NFL. In Cleveland, Joe Flacco no longer looks like the QB who led the Browns to a playoff appearance just a year ago. Andy Dalton was sometimes practical, but ultimately faltered. Of course, this isn't always the case. The NFL has its share of exceptions to the rule. Tom Brady defied age and expectation, moving to Tampa Bay and winning a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. After his neck surgery, Peyton Manning secured one final Super Bowl victory before retiring. This season, Russell Wilson is finding new life in Pittsburgh, where he's been key to the Steelers' success despite his struggles in Denver. But those are outliers. For most quarterbacks, betting that a player in the twilight of their career can replicate past glories is a risky gamble. And in the case of Rodgers, it's a gamble the Jets have lost. He arrived in New York with lofty expectations, believing he could lead them to a Super Bowl. But as we've seen, all he's brought to the Jets is turmoil, with one impressive 300-yard game, his first in nearly 3 years, standing out as a rare bright spot. Rodgers acknowledged the situation after the Jets' loss to Miami, in which he threw for 339 yards, but came up short. "We just didn't figure out how to win enough games," he said. "I didn't play good enough in some crunch times. That's why we're sitting here with the record we've got." It's a sobering assessment that highlights the challenges of holding on to a quarterback past his prime. In 2023, when Rodgers and the Packers were clearly on the outs, he complained about the team's unsentimental approach to personnel decisions. He remarked on the Packers' habit of letting go of players a year early instead of a year late. It seemed like a criticism at the time, but now it looks more like a smart strategy. In the NFL, it's easy to want to hold on to a player who's been great, to believe they'll regain their former glory. But that's where many teams go wrong. If you wait too long, your team will be stuck with a player who no longer has what it takes to win. This mindset leads to disappointing seasons, frustrated fans, and a diminishing legacy for once great players. As sad as it may be to watch quarterbacks like Rodgers, Cousins, and many others decline, it's a part of the NFL reality. What's even sadder is the teams that hold on to these aging stars too long, letting nostalgia cloud their judgment, ultimately hindering their future success. The business of the NFL may not always be sentimental, but it's why teams like the Packers and Vikings are now in a better position to succeed, while others struggle to pick up the pieces.